This is called the way to perfection. This is not called the way to French cooking. It's not called the way to fixing things. It's not called the way to manipulate your family and friends. It's called the way to perfection. And when our goal is to become perfect, now, a long time ago, according to our legends, we were not even mammalian. We were these amphibious little things that were forced out of the swamps and forced to breathe and forced to come into our next phase of evolution. And there were several, according to our legends, there were several stages of evolution that brought us up to this point. And the Darwinian people say that something like that happened as well. Now, if you're a creationist, you're welcome here too. If you don't believe in any of that, that's fine. But it's already part of the archetype of our mind. It's already been told, you bought it on some level. You can't escape from the archetype whether or not it really happened. So evolution is true for you whether or not it really happened, because the model is there in our mind. In our arrogance, we've somehow thought that evolution stopped here with us, and that this is as good as it gets. And that's pretty sad if you think that that's really true, but a lot of people do. It's our evolutionary event that it will happen, is that we, through our service and through our working and through the craft, we will become angels. It just will be like the angels, but like it's as if he said it's being like pregnant. I mean, you either are or you're not. You know what I mean? So the only thing that really we can do is delay. We can't stop it. We can only delay. And he says that we're supposed to speed up our perfection through doing these works. And I know this is an advanced roundtable for you beginners, and I think that everybody here is ready to hear this, because is there anybody in this room who this is their very first taste of anything spiritual? Ever? Even if you're a brand new person? No. We've all been preparing for this. We've all been preparing. We've all had a hunch throughout our lives that we were destined for greatness. At some time or another, even though it was trained out of us, even though we convinced ourselves that it wasn't true. Isn't that right? Haven't you thought in your mind at one time or another, wow, I'm here for a great and glorious purpose. I'm here to do something big. Well, you are. It's your purpose. It's your function. And last roundtable, if those of you that weren't in the second half missed a lot of fun, but I'll kind of give you a little taste of some of the things that were discussed. And one of the things was that in our legends it talks about how the world was in savagery, and that that God sent angels to the earth to teach the savages the ways and to save them from savagery and to bring the world into a lighter place. Okay? Well, that was an event in history necessarily. It's really what's going on right now. Because if you look in the news, it's a savage place. If you know anything about what's going on with our environment, if you know anything that's going on in the world political environment, if you know anything about what's going on our streets, if you know anything about gang violence, if you know anything about child abuse, if you know anything about drug abuse, if you know anything about the criminal element that is just running rampant in our world, you can be in denial as long as you want to about the being savagery in our world, but it's not going to make it go away. In fact, it's going to probably foster it to get worse. There is no technology on this planet. There is no political system on this planet. There is no man-made anything in this world that's going to be able to save us. It's just how it is. We don't have it. We don't have any idea how to fix the ozone. We do not have it. We do not have the technology. We do not have any way politically to be assured that the weapons of mass destruction aren't going to be used. We have no way in any of our man-made institutions to have a 100% guarantee that we will not have germ warfare happen. And that AIDS, isn't just the precursor to some very bad, horrible diseases that maybe aren't even man-made. We do not have what it takes from a scientific, from a political, from any intellectual level to save us from what's going on in the world and what's coming up in the world, because it's not going to get any better from the point of view of the mortal mind. We don't have what it takes. That's why we need angels to save us. That's why it happens. Remember, we talk about this a lot. How in AA we talk about how your best thinking got you here. Your ways, if you do what you used to do, you'll get the same results that you used to get. That the best that you can do is this. So you need something bigger than you. You need something outside of your thought system to save you. Okay, collectively, that's true too. There is nothing within our world, within our mortal thought system, that is going to save us from the annihilation that we are on the course toward. It's just that simple. I'm sorry. We need something higher than what we are capable. We need something outside of the thought system of this world. And that's why we have angels. That's why God has sent angels. Now, who are the Magi? Who are these angels that have come here? It's you. That's your job. It's your job to get off every cycle of misery that you have yourself on in this world so that you can be of service to the greater purpose. And for as long and as much and as hard as you are willing to stick in your drama, stick in your little personal drama and your little personal hell, there you are. That's how much you're not helping. Right? Because you're supposed to become an angel. And you need to be able to sit together with your brothers and sisters, because it's too scary to do it by yourself. You need to be able to sit with your brothers and sisters and say, yeah, we're here for great and glorious purposes. We are here to save the world. That's what we're here for. That's what we were born for. That's what we were made for. That's why you were drawn to this. And it's not only the craft. It's not only the DCW. It's whatever God can use. He's not picky. You know what I'm saying? The goddess is not a connoisseur like that. It's just like whatever. She'll even use the Satanists if she has to, if they're open to it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Don't even get caught up in form. But for us, we have a really great system. We have a really great group of people, and we have everything it takes to make it happen. Now, everybody in this room has had enough education and spiritual principle that if you were to use what you know, your life would be glorious, personally. Okay? So that's the first step, is to handle stuff on your own personal level and in your own personal relationships. The next step is to join together and say, we are ready for that next evolutionary step. We are ready to take off. We're ready to be willing to invite the next step of our evolution and the evolution on the planet. Because it's got to hit a critical mass. It's got to hit a critical mass. And it's not going to hit a critical mass by you going out there and pounding the landmarks at somebody. It's not going to hit a critical mass by you going out there necessarily and recruiting people, because, you know how long it takes to train somebody in the craft. It's not about that. It's about you becoming the change. You being the change. And again, if you're new here, when I say the word you and I speak in the second person, it's because it's effective to hear it that way. I'm speaking to myself as well. You have to become, this is what Gandhi said, you have to be the change. You have to be the next step of evolution. You have to, but you can't teach yourself because you've been poorly taught. You can't teach yourself. This world is a dysfunction. In and of itself, it's a dysfunction. We say that we come from dysfunctional families. Yeah. So, all of it's a dysfunction. The whole thing. Ever since the fall from grace, however you want to call that, whether it's in biblical terms or not, every religion has a story about it. That meant we were perfect, we forgot, and now we're perfecting again. We're going back home. So the journey of perfection, and we've said this before, is not about going and getting new things. It's about remembering who we are and why we're here. You just happen to be a star. You just happen to be here to save the world. That's nothing to be taking personal credit for. You didn't make it that way. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to try to deny. It's no reason to try to run and hide from your glorious self. You get to get it on the level of the cellular level, which is saying, yeah, it's just the way it is. It's nothing. It's not that you're necessarily going to even do anything different. It's not even necessarily that you're going to be behaving differently, but you're going to be carrying a different energy with you when you totally accept your function here. You carry a different energy, you carry a different attitude with you. Every person you meet, it's like, I'm here to bless you. I am here to save you. Not me personally. I mean, me personally, I'd be lucky to be able to even not be mean to you. You know what I mean? That's as good as I can get, is to be nice to you. Okay? But with the power of the universe behind me, the power of God behind me, and working through me, where I am asking to be used as a vessel for healing the world, every single relationship that you come into is just like, I'm here to bless you. I am here to love you. I am here to save you. You know, when Jesus, this is the other thing. Okay, we were in the age of Pisces, and now we're in the age of Aquarius, right? This is the transitionary period. We cannot technically get into the meat of the process of the age of Aquarius until we are able to complete the lessons of the age of Pisces. But because everybody's got all this stuff on what Jesus said, because they think that the Christians have a monopoly on Christ, we happen to be avoiding all of the basic lessons of Christianity and trying to skip over into the age of Aquarius when we haven't even learned the age of Pisces stuff yet. How can you become an angel if you can't love your neighbor? Right? Everybody's got all this stuff on Jesus because of all of the crap that's been done in his name, right? But until you can get clear with what his purpose was in the age of Pisces, you're not going to be able to become the age of Aquarius. And that's what the second coming is. The second coming of Christ is that it's you. It's all of us. That's why it's Aquarius. Aquarius is numbers of people. Aquarius is the sign of critical mass. Aquarius is the sign of knowing. So the second coming of Christ is your becoming. Okay, in the craft, we don't use the word Christ that often. We use the word Pan, but it's the same thing. It's the idea that there's one divine child of the universe. Everybody's a part of that. They call it the body of Christ in Christianity. We call it Pan in the craft. But the bottom line is that they say that, in our legends, we need a third of the planet to get conscious before we can have that wave take over, and then it becomes normal for everybody. I can't remember the name of the guy that said this, but it's the first stage of any new ideas where it's ridiculed and mocked. The second stage is where it's highly resisted, and then the third stage is when it's it's taken as being self-evident. Well, that's what's happening now. And you see it all over the place. There's all this stuff going on in the air that started in the 60s, and you saw a little bit more of it in the 70s, and in the 80s, the New Age happened, and now we're here in the 90s, and people are starting to integrate it, right? So everything that's supposed to be happening is happening, but it can happen a lot more quickly if we just get what our function is, what our purpose is, and why we're here. But it's just a whole new way of looking at things, blessing the world. Now, we have a phrase in the craft, and it's called blessed be. And it's become one of those phrases that's just really thrown around, bantered about. And it's normal. When something becomes commonplace, it becomes taken for granted. the term blessed be is not just something you say and, like goodbye. It doesn't just mean mm-hmm or yeah. Blessed be, what does that mean? Blessed be. I mean, it's this ultimate Zen phrase. Blessed be. Blessed is that which is. Blessed be ... So, when you say blessed be, and you're saying that whether it's mentally or verbally, and you're connecting with the energy behind what those words mean, and it's not just an empty verbal catchphrase and not a new jargon for the 90s, blessed be, you're blessing every person, every situation, you're blessing the ground that you walk in, you're getting in touch with the fact that I am connected to my celestial mother and father, and I am their divine child, sent as their personal ambassador here on this earth to spread light and love and healing and save this world from savagery, and I am conferring my blessing here. Now that means wherever you walk, it's sacred ground. And that's a whole different thing than blessed be, you know what I'm saying? And it's not necessarily the tone in which you say it or don't say it, but I mean, we even abbreviate. I do it all the time on my email, BB, but that's just because I email people at work. But I still mean it. I still mean blessed be this computer, blessed be email, blessed be you, blessed be us, blessed be whatever we talked about right now. I am conferring the blessing and the light of all the universe into this. And that's my job here, is to bless. That's your job here. That's what we do. So that's a new way of looking at our problems, isn't it? Wherever there's a problem, it's because there is a lack of blessing. The reason why we have the threat of weapons of mass destruction is because there's a lack of blessing. There's a lack of divine love. There's a lack of divine light. The reason why we have hunger on our planet. Now we all know that there's hunger, right? You've seen the commercials with Sally Struthers. We all know that it's there, don't we? We know, yeah. So she's trying to set a good example for the kids. You don't have to starve. No, but you know what I'm saying? There is. Sorry, Sally. I said that in the highest sense of humor. I really did. But what I'm saying is, it's no mystery that there's children starving. Not only in other worlds, in other countries, but in this one. There are people homeless on this cold night that have no place to live. There are people who have no food. It's true. We know it, don't we? Are there enough shelters in this world for those people? There aren't? There are. Yes, there are. Is there enough food to feed those people on this planet? Oh, yes, there is. How many thousands of people die a day from starvation on this planet? It was like 34,000 or something. It was something ridiculous, something that I couldn't handle it. Okay, but there's plenty of food. There's plenty of food. What is it that causes those people to not get the food that's already here? Lack of blessing. There is no light. There is no love. We have no love in those senses. What kind? That's that old saying. What kind of God lets children starve? God didn't let the children starve. We did. We did personally. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing that you have an opportunity to do is bless your day. The first thing you have an opportunity to do is bless your tasks, to confer the blessing of the universe into every aspect of your morning, and to set that tone, to let it carry you through to the rest of the day. Now, the problem here is that it's very dangerous for you to think that you know what that blessing is supposed to look like. It's very dangerous for us to think that we understand what God's will is in any given situation, unless we are tuned into our mental teacher. That's why we were given one. Your mental teacher is your inner sense of your inner voice, your inner connection to the being. That teacher isn't part of your mind as you know it. It's not part of your personality. It's not part of any of the earthly, mortal experiences that you associate with yourself. The higher self, or the mental teacher, is outside of that thought system, outside of your thought system, outside of your ego, outside of who you think you are. That's why your mental shield needs to be down, because your mental shield is all about your personality. We've talked about this before. Everybody, I know there's a couple people to whom the term mental shield might be new. But your mental shield is that which is up and around you when you are awake, and it is held in place by tension. Now, everything about your personality is tense. That's why you have so many problems. Because your personality is sick. It's a sickness. The mental shield is an illness. It's a mental illness. And that's why there's problems in this world. And that's why we teach the craft as medicine. It's why it's considered medicine. That's why we're always called witch doctors. The first thing to heal on any spiritual path is the illness in the mind. And the illness of the mind is the illness of tension. Mental tension. What causes tension? Anybody? What do you think causes tension? The root?
Fear.
Fear. What are you afraid of?
Not what you don't know.
Yeah, you're afraid of what you don't know. And why would you not know? Because you forgot. So somehow you forgot what you know. Somehow you forgot who you are. Somehow you think you're this little speck of dust, kind of traveling around the universe with absolutely no connection to your source. But that's like saying that there's these little sunbeams that are flailing about the universe with no connection to the sun. That's like these little waves of the ocean flailing around the universe that aren't connected to the ocean. You can't do that. You can't separate a sunbeam. You can't separate a wave. You can't separate anything from anything. Because if you know anything about physics, there is nothing. There is no thing. Okay? It's all connected. But the thought that it's not connected is very scary. And that's why we have mental shields, is to protect us from this imagined enemy. Does that make sense? That it's just like there's something out there that's going to hurt us. There's something out there that we need to defend against. There's something out there that we need to protect ourselves from. There's something out there that is a threat to us. And that was that whole Garden of Eden myth. It's just like that serpent is what they call the Satan now, or the devil, I guess. It was very, and I talked about this when I think it's in my book, the primer, which is primer, but I know I used to teach about it when I taught beginning Wicca, that there was a very legitimate spiritual principle that was depicted by that serpent myth, and that was the concept of the ego, the concept of the idea that of the separate self, that little part, that little chatterbox inside your brain that goes, you'll never make it. They're really bad. You're really bad. They're really bad. You're really bad. You know, this constantly. Don't you know that one where it follows you around all day long and is going? It's just like, you know. And then, but then the problem is you identify with it. You listen to it. You believe it, right? And so what happened was the concept of the serpent, or the concept of, and it's not the concept of the serpent that's the good concept of the serpent that is in other myths, but in this one that happened to be talking about the negative voice, that false self, that personality. It's talking about your personality, basically. And then later on, they took it and politicized it, and they superimposed this very legitimate concept of that separate self, or that false self, or that accuser, or that adversary, and they put it over a pagan fertility god, and then thus was born Satan as we know him today. It just happened to be our god, but you know, we lost. But that was a political ploy to subvert the fertility religions, and we know that story. Anyway, so the problem is that Satan is real, but he's just in your mind. It should not make you feel safe. It should not make you feel safe to know that Satan's in your mind, that the devil's in your mind, that the serpent's in your mind. Because you know, and I know how powerful your mind is. If your mind wasn't so powerful, you wouldn't be able to mess up your life as completely as you do. You know what I'm saying? But it's that power that is so big in you. And if you're always listening to the voice inside your head, your power is being directed into those arenas. So you need to, just like a born-again Christian, stand up and in the name of, you call it what you want, in the name of the light, I deny your existence. You do not need... Can you imagine if you were inside of your room and it got real messy, so you just turned out the light because you didn't want to clean it up? Okay? And then every time you tripped over your laundry, you cursed it, and you cursed the darkness, and you felt like a victim. Right? The first thing you got to do is turn on the light before you can clean up the mess. Right? Well, that's what we do. We just go, oh, I don't know what's happening to me. My life just isn't working. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Why? Because we have sold our souls to the little negative voice inside our heads. And you know what? It's very sly. We've talked about it. It's called false beliefs. There's a whole lesson on it. It's called false beliefs. Beware of the power of your hidden false beliefs. It is your only problem. What you feel about what you believe about yourself, what you believe about the world, what you believe about God, all of it. You bought it, hook, line, and sinker, and you're still buying it to whatever extent you're unhappy in this world. But to that extent, you are of no service to the universe. You cannot save the world. You cannot be a magi, one of the magi. You cannot be an angel. Okay, so you need to stand up. So what's your problem? Your problem is poverty. You need to stand up and say, in the name of the light, in the name of God, you can use whatever. I don't care. The universe doesn't care. You can say in the name of the goddess. You can say in the name of Jesus Christ. As long as it is real to you and it really pulls the emotional power through you, I claim my right as a spiritual being, as a child of my celestial mother and father, that this darkness be dispelled. In the name of the light, in the name of God, in the name of the Creator, I command this situation to be put right according to my father's or my mother's or my father and mother's will. Their will is for me to be happy, and this is not part of their will. I command this to be healed in whatever way they see fit. Over and over you say that. If you go into do an exorcism in a home, right? You move through that home and you demand that energy, that negative energy, be dispelled in the name of God. Whatever you use, whatever term you use, we don't care. They're not picky. She loves you no matter what gender you call her. You know what I'm saying? So, and we have no problem in an exorcism doing that. We're usually, most people in here that I know that do that seem to clean up homes pretty well. It's just like, boom, 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 it happens. Okay? But in your own life, it's another story. Somehow you feel like you don't have that same right to do so in your money, or you don't have the same right to do that in your relationships, or whatever, your job, or your car, or whatever it happens to be. If you say, in the name of truth, I dispel this lie, in the name of the light, I dispel this darkness, it has to be dispelled. Now, if you do that in your name, it doesn't have to. Your name, by yourself, it doesn't have to. Because you're the one that put it there in the first place. You hear what I'm saying? You are the one that caused the darkness to begin with, because it's your little serpent that doesn't even exist. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird how it doesn't even exist, but we still follow it? We still worship it? How many people worship money? It's just like, oh, the bill, oh, the bill, oh, the check, oh, the... You know, it's just like, how many people do that? How many people worship their relationship? Oh, don't leave me, don't leave me. You know, that's the false gods that they're talking about in the Old Testament. It's just like, there is no other God but the one that you're connected to. Right? But we don't get that. We don't want to get that. And to that extent, we are not angels. And we are robbing ourselves, and we're robbing the world of healing. So every moment you have an opportunity to have a choice. You can either choose to be happy, or you can choose to be miserable. You can choose to be tense, or you can choose to be relaxed. But when you're relaxed and your mental shield is down, then you can listen to the voice. That spirit, that mental teacher. Now, a lot of people come into the craft with the preconceived idea of their spirit guide, and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's part of that serpent. Sometimes it's a part of their belief system. Okay? But when you come into the craft at your relaxation before your initiation, you're given your spirit. We acknowledge that teacher is there. And it's like we don't give it to you, but we acknowledge the teacher's presence for you in the name of the light, in the name of the way. And the teacher of the way doesn't always give you the answer that you want to hear, but it always gives you the answer very clearly if you're willing to listen. So that's another way you can tell if it's just your own little thing that you made up, or if it's a real teacher, because sometimes you'll say, what do I do in this situation? And then you'll say, I don't think you heard me correctly. Let me try this again. What was I supposed to do in this situation? You know, sometimes it tells you something wrong. I mean, something that you feel is wrong, but it's ultimately right, and you know it. And you can tell by the amount of freedom that you'll feel inside your body when you make that decision. Exactly. Right? So, it's just, we have this idea, and we've been hypnotized by the world to believe that things take time. In time, it'll heal. In God's own time. In the goddess's time. Whatever happens, happens. Go with the flow. The path of least resistance. Sometimes the path of least resistance is not the best answer. It's sometimes the path of least resistance, to do the drugs. Sometimes it's the path of least resistance to hold up the convenience store, because it's the easiest way at that moment. Sometimes the path of least resistance leads you down the bad road. Sometimes the voice is going to tell you, I think you better try again. And you know what I'm saying? So, the power of the universe, the power of your celestial family is not wimpy. And it's not a drag. And it's not painful. And the life of a holy person is not a life of sacrifice. The life of sacrifice is the life that you live before you say, okay, yes, I'll do it, whatever it is. Okay? But it's not this one day. It's not this one event. It's not this one time. It's a moment-to-moment process. What do I do in this situation, dear teacher? What do I do in this situation, dear teacher? What do I do in this situation, oh mental teacher? Over and over and over again, and you get that you know nothing. You know nothing. And that's a high place to be. The highest place to be is to say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's why I have a teacher. If I didn't need a teacher, I would be perfect. Does that make sense? It's like if you were already perfect, you wouldn't need to be doing any of this stuff. So it's really important for us to remember and to join together and remember and to support one another. And yet, we have a greater purpose here. We have a glorious purpose. We have a higher purpose. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It could happen now. I mean, it could happen tonight. We have a cure for AIDS tonight. We have a cure for the ozone problem tonight. We have a cure for the weapons of mass destruction tonight. We have a way to end all wars tonight. We have all the answers available to us now. Just like you have all of the answers available to handle your financial problems, you have all the answers to handle your relationship problems, all the answers to handle your legal problems, whatever it is. It's just a matter of getting off it in your mind and saying, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix it. I do not know how to fix it. You need to get clear that you don't know anything and that your teacher knows everything. When you are not doing what you're here to do, you get very stressed out.